10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, Wrestle Talk family. Welcome to our latest episode of Wrestle Talk Podcast, episode number 549. Can't believe our next episode will be 550. And, thank you guys for being along with us for the ride. We couldn't have done it without you guys. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. But as always, we got a great show lined up for you tonight here on our special Wednesday broadcast. This is a one-time change because we just had to make this change so we could get this guest in for you. But let's go ahead. I have a very special host here with me tonight, as I always do. Let's welcome him in. Let's welcome the young lion with the old soul, Gabriel Arsene, ladies and gentlemen.
And still your Warriors Heart champion, ladies and gentlemen. Even despite my Assassin Syndicate brother's best, Ace, I got you this time. Hardcore Haas, what's up, dude?
How's it going, and Gabe? Great to be here with you tonight. Glad you could make it, and just looking forward to this great interview we got.
I'm really glad we could try and pull some strings to make it happen. I mean, we have a fantastic guest lined up, the ass kicking machine himself, Mathias. I just want to say thank you so much. We should be having him in the back in a little bit, but we got him for our second hour here. And, it's not a permanent change for those of you, but, we also just want to throw this out there to any potential guests. Just hit us up. We'll see what we can do because we do the best for the people that we love here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. But as always, we got a lot to talk. We got a lot to talk in the world of professional wrestling. I know I seem to repeat myself every time, but in the past about 2 weeks, oh boy, much ado has happened in the world of professional wrestling, Hardcore Hoss. And I know we got lots of segments dedicated to it here. We got lots of questions ready for the back, but we got a couple pieces of business we always have to take care of here in the Wrestle Talk podcast. I know you've been dreading it. I know I've been dreading it. I know everybody in the back, everybody watching right now has been dreading it. But as always, we'd like to take this moment, folks, to dedicate this time to the greatest country here on God's green earth. We ask that you please remove your hats, place your hands over your hearts as we pay tribute to America.
My goodness, I tell you, it brings a tear to your eyes or blood to your ears every time. One of the two. I don't know which, but
Full disclosure, you guys think you have a bad hearing that? Imagine having headphones and hearing it. So much worse. I'm just foaming at the mouth when it happens. I feel like I'm gonna have a stroke. But it's finally over, folks. The bleeding has stopped. We can move on here. Now, Haas, I was gonna say, you're looking a little light there in terms of your hardware. I see you still have that tag team championship, but I think, do we want to save this for our dedicated segment before we bring it up?
yeah, my 3-year reign, it did come to an end, but we'll talk more about that when we talk about FWWC later. But before we get to all that, we got to thank our great and wonderful sponsors. We got Retro Zone, Painter's Dream Productions. That's the one and only Perry Hartman, Big Daddy P. And Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame. Doomed Outfitters, that's our man, Will Bromlow, or Ace as he's otherwise known, the World Domination Wrestling Alliance, and the world's premier fantasy wrestling group, the FWWC. That's right. So, now that we got all that out the way, there is just so much going on, so much to talk about in the lovely world of professional wrestling.
Well, before we jump into our high spot segment, I was gonna say, what have you been watching recently, Hardcore Hoss? I think we get a little wrapped up in the news aspect. We don't ever take a moment to step back and just say, hey, did you see anything you liked? And actually, let's start with this, just to kind of break the ice a little bit. What'd you think of Mania?
Mania, it wasn't a bad show, but compared to a lot of other Manias, I think I was left a little underwhelmed compared to a lot of the other ones. I just wasn't as big of a wow as a lot of them tended to be in the past. And, so, but, that I did watch Mania. Um, and of course, been paying attention to WWE, but I've been paying attention to more independent wrestling than I have really a lot of the professional stuff on TV. Because if you're not checking out your independent scenes, shame on you guys, because that's where these guys get their start. And there really is a lot of talent in the independent scene. And, so I've been checking them out. And, actually, while we're talking about the independent scenes, I want to give a shout out to one independent wrestler from this past weekend, Bo Ross. He is a member of our Wrestle Talk family, and he actually took a bad chair shot, and not in a kayfabe way, that actually left him busted open, and he ended up going to the hospital, receiving 7 staples to his head. So shout out to Bo. Glad you're okay, and glad it wasn't any worse. So,
And we wish you a speedy recovery, my man. I think a lot of things that people tend to forget is that the big word in front of the word wrestling, as much as we all love our wrestling, is professional. And it is the key for a lot of wrestlers to be as professional as possible. And I feel the need to ask you, Haas, was it an intentional bump or did it just happen? Was it just one of those things where he just happened to get hurt?
it was. I mean, it was a chair on a pole match, and he was taking a bump, but he caught the chair wrong during this bump. He caught the corner of the chair, and it just ripped the top of his head open to the point he had a flap, and it wasn't meant to be. So I mean, it's like I say, it was not kayfabe that he got busted open. But it there are pictures online. If you go look online, they have pictures of before he was cleaned up and pictures of the head actually stapled. So
I think I'll take your word for it. I don't think my stomach could. Am I sure I still want to be a pro wrestler after hearing that? No.
But
But
in,
I do wish him a very speedy recovery. And I have to ask, after it happened, did he finish the match?
yeah, he finished the match. I mean, it was towards the end of the match that it happened, fortunately. So he went ahead. The match did finish up, and then he was helped to the back, and then just as soon as he got to the back, straight to the hospital. um, but yeah, it was something, and it was very unexpected. But he's a tough guy. I know this is just going to make him even more determined than ever. So he'll be back, and can't wait to see him back in the ring.
Can't wait to see him back on the show. We got to get him on here.
So I saw a message here that I wanted to.
Oh, I saw it too. Don't
There
worry.
it is. Jonathan, this is over the weekend. Memphis Wrestling did something awesome. Go ahead, drop it in the comments there. What happened? We'd love to hear about it, and we'll be glad to share it with everybody. And maybe we can even get you guys coming on here with us at some point and do an interview. So that would be great. But yeah, so how about yourself, Gabe? We know you watch all kinds of wrestling.
Always, man, always. Well, I can tell you for one, MLW, what's going on? I need to hear the updates, man. Like I've seen their dates and shows, but I haven't had them actually announce anything. Nothing's been recorded or filmed yet. So, I'm waiting. I heard that they're still trying to figure out what's going on with Fusion, but yeah, just like I don't know. I mean, I want to keep up with it. I mean, Killer Cross is their MLW World Heavyweight Champion. I want to know what's happening with Riddle. I mean, we have Kushida as MLW Middleweight Champion. I mean, I want to see where we're been because it's like I got to see it firsthand, and it's like being on the biggest cliffhanger of all time. You're like, okay, but what's next? So just like to hear an update, and as always, please come back to Florida. I need another show over here. As far as WrestleMania goes, I'm in a similar boat as you, Haas. Although I think I'm a little bit nicer about it, only that uh, night one, I think everybody can agree, blew the fat one. It could have been decent, but I think the fact that there were more ads than there were matches, or at least match length, says a lot about the priorities of WWE in 2026. But I think all that being considered, night two definitely picked up the scraps in a very big way. And I think we can all agree that main event was lit. That was a very hype main event, given how much could have gone wrong and how much wasn't exactly left on the cutting room floor. And as far as other shows go, keeping up with AEW a lot recently. I try my best to be the guy who defends it. I'm the contrarian here in the Wrestle Talk podcast locker room, and that's because everybody of my constituents feel the need to shit on all elite wrestling. But I will be the lone defender so long as there's air in these lungs. And I gotta say, you got to check out some of these matches. They have a lot of card. I understand it's AEW. They probably soured your taste after the whole brawl out thing. But when I tell you, just give them another chance, find a pay-per-view, keep up with what's going on with the storylines. Just pick one match. I promise you they will blow it out of the water. And as far as independent goes, just been keeping up. I'm hoping to try and pick up some of the more local scenes. I'm trying to hit up Atomic Legacy Wrestling if I can down here in Florida. I know they have a very big scene. They got a lot of familiar faces, some newcomers, and stuff like Boca Raton Wrestling, the Florida scene. Just want to throw this out there for any of you that are, independent wrestlers in the either promoters, wrestlers, managers. Please do not be a stranger. I am here in Claremont. Hit me up. We will get you on the show. I will get you in this room right now. I got a microphone. Okay, we can make this happen. But as far as that goes, I mean, yeah, just MLW. What's going on? I want to see what's happening in the major league. No updates.
Hey, you mentioned wrestling down there in Florida, and obviously I'm up here in West Virginia, so I don't know a lot about what happens down in Florida in the independent scenes, but I do want to send out a shout out to Kakoa, the Hawaiian Warrior. He's with House of Champions Wrestling down there in Florida, and they have a House of Champions training center, and they actually they're in the process of moving their training center about 1.5 miles up the road from where they are right now, because they've outgrown that building and have actually gotten a bigger building. So, obviously doing something right, doing some good work down there. Otherwise, they wouldn't be growing the way that they are. So, shout out to them. Congratulations, guys. Enjoy your new building, and hopefully, I'll get down there and see it one day.
And on my end, Keikoa, keep the ring nice and ready for me because Gabriel Arsen's going to be making his way there very soon. So on a sort of kayfabe, non-kayfabe, or excuse me, to pull the curtain back a little bit, ladies and gentlemen, yours truly has recently started a new job, and I'm hoping that it will. It's already been great. I mean, I've aced my training. I'm going to be starting my actual proper in-store training soon, so it seems like I'm going to hit the ground running. I'm hoping that it opens up my schedule both for financial reasons, but also from just I have time off now. So, just looking to finish paying off this car. I'm about $4,000 away, folks. So once that happens, gonna have my car fixed up, and I'm gonna have the extra money in my pocket so that I can finally go to wrestling school. So keep your eyes open for the young lion with the old soul hitting the circuit in the Florida wrestling community. But as always, Keikoa, you're gonna be the first person I hit up. So just keep that phone ready.
And Jonathan said that down there they did a steel cage that would not fit into the center, so they did the match outside. So, sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to move it outside if it doesn't fit, and that's that's not always a bad thing. So,
I think if
um,
anybody knows what it's like to fly the plane while you're building it, it's the Wrestle Talk podcast, right, Haas?
but before we get too much though into actually talking wrestling here, we do have one other thing we got to hit here real quick, because we can't talk high spots without that high spots music. So let's go ahead and hit that high spots music. Give it up for DJ Money.
Mic check, mic check. Yeah. All right. Wrestle Talk Podcast. DJ Money. Yeah. Let's go. Welcome to High Spots, where we pop news like clear chops. We talk shop, coming through the screens of a laptop. And non-stop like a running speakers of blacktop. We hit hard like chair shots and backdrops. Like a clock flash, look like a belly flop. Now that's hard. We up to speed while they stay slow. Wrestle Talk Podcast, now they know. We about to start the show.
All right, that music always hitting hard. Shout out to DJ Money for that music there. Great guy. Be sure to check him out too. So, Gabe, let's see if this randomizer wants to play nice tonight.
Ooh.
Oh, so instead of starting with WWE news, because we've talked so much about WWE, let's start with a little Lucha Underground. Their Twitter page has posted a teaser video. Could we be seeing season 5 of Lucha Underground? So, Gabe, you want to hit this one first? Because I think you might know a little more about Lucha Underground than I do.
I can tell you right now, if you haven't watched Lucha Underground, do yourself a huge ass favor and find it online. But also, this is a word to the people who run it. Put it on a streaming service somewhere. All right. Nobody had the El Rey network when it came out, or at least I didn't. So just do us all a huge favor and put it on somewhere online. All right. Wrestling fans want to pay for wrestling. All right. We wouldn't bootleg our stuff if it wasn't for the fact that it wasn't online anywhere for free. Anyways, but this to me could be the biggest surprise of 2026 in terms of Lucha Underground really was almost the redheaded stepchild of wrestling for a while because it was so out there. And for those unfamiliar, it was like the Mortal Kombat of storytelling in wrestling. Like they played it 100% safe, but they absolutely went for it every time they had wrestlers. You know how with the Undertaker, he's supposed to be an undead wrestler. They would do that in Lucha Underground with people like what is it, Mil Muertes and Drago, who I haven't seen in a fat minute. I need this man to come back from Inframundo. That's the Mexican underworld, dude. Like the actual underworld, like Tartarus, basically. So to know that this has the potential to come back, especially after again another cliffhanger, the way that it ended in season 4, this opens up the avenue for so many people. My question is, what does Lucha Underground have to do to survive in 2026? Because being the wrestling show that goes against the grain isn't enough anymore. Now, the thing is, it's not anything definitive. The actual video is just a shot of a dude with a masked wrestler mask, and he's, his head is on the floor. If you haven't seen it, you'll know if you actually watch the context. And it just says the word mas, aka more. So I feel like they're testing the waters to see if the fans are still like there, that it hasn't died down, that it hasn't gone away, that if this revival happens, enough people will be there to support it. And I think I speak on behalf of every diehard Lucha Underground fan. We are still here. The thing that needs to change is the thing that ended up kneecapping it the first time. And that is that I have no idea if Cesar Duran is involved with this production in any way, shape, or form. Do I think he needs to be? Absolutely. It's funny that he actually mentions that too. But Vampiro, it was one of those things where it was through the grapevine for years. So now to actually see something come to fruition will be nice. But honestly, time will tell. All I can say is that when it happens, I'm going to be the first one in line because I love Lucha Underground. It's how I got discovered and revealed to so many different names in the business. Prince Puma, aka Ricochet, Rey Mysterio Jr. It was good to see him kicking around. The Lucha Bros, Pentagon, Phoenix, those are the people that I got introduced to in the moment. Even people that were wearing masks at the time that aren't wearing them anymore. I would get people like, oh goodness, I'm going to kill myself if I don't remember this guy's name. Okay, I guess I have to break my neck. No, was it King Cuerno? I think it was King Cuerno. But I think he was Santos Escobar actually after he removed his helmet or his mask. And then just, people that got their name value out of it, like Johnny Mundo and, I mean, we don't really talk about him anymore, but Alberto El Patron. Even somebody like JC Mateo, formerly known as Jeff Cobb. He was Montanza Cueto. It was one of those things where he had a look and a completely different vibe. Like if you see what he looked like there, Hoss, it's night and day, just like you and Dark Hoss. It's crazy. Like you need to see it and just watch it. Like it'll help if you got beers, or if you like to, it's definitely got to suspend your disbelief. But it's wrestling that doesn't take itself too seriously, but just seriously enough for it to be awesome.
Honestly, I haven't seen a whole lot of Lucha Underground.
How dare you?
I've heard a lot about it. I've seen a little bit here and there, honestly. But I would love to actually see more. But Beans, the only thing that they put is more, or Moss, meaning more. Does that mean that they are having another season of it, or could that potentially mean that they are putting their library somewhere that would be a little more easier to access and putting it out there where it'll get more views and more eyes upon the product that has been there so that more people can come to know Lucha Underground? So could that be what more means? Maybe it means more by you're going to be able to see it more or a little more easily, you know?
I hope so. I mean, because the option is there and everybody's doing it. You know, that it'd be very, very, very simple because I know that they were originally associated with the El Rey network, but assuming they still have the rights, there's nothing stopping them from making a new YouTube channel and making it a membership thing where you have to pay the $5 membership, but when you become a member, you get access to the entire library. And that I don't know the legal proceedings for that, but that's how I would approach it if that is the goal. And if anything, Haas, I think we both had the same idea that maybe Moss means that they are doing that, as in preserving the library and making sure all that the matches are preserved and documented and being able to be viewed by people easily to test the waters to see if people are still into it. And then if enough people actually, respond and, give them the response that they need, then they can consider jumping into a fifth season. All I know is I am excited if they do it. And do yourself a huge favor. I believe it's Matt Too Hot Wrestling. He does lots of edits, so he usually puts them to like songs by Stradivarius or Kane's Offering, stuff like that. They very, very victory metal style sounding songs, but he does very nice edits of the show itself. So he isn't really able to show the scenes where people are talking and dialogue, but nothing goes better than victory metal and pro wrestling. So at the very least, you can see the matches themselves, and they're really cool. So that's just me. We're not sponsored, but I love his pro wrestling page.
But I definitely, like I said, definitely want to check it out, and I want to see more of it because I have, like I say, I've seen bits and pieces here and there, but I do want to be able to see more of what they had. And if they do come out with another season of it, I'd love to not only get caught up, but see future episodes. So it's definitely something I'm going to be checking out.
Funnily enough, I just wanted to pull it up for the sake of transparency. They have a couple clips on here, but I just checked out the Lucha Underground YouTube page, and they did upload coming soon. So it's the same video they posted on Twitter, but it is clear that somebody is the page is still active. So what that spells for the future, I don't know yet, but there is an effort being made. So I guess we'll only have to wait because time will tell.
So,
now,
all right.
I have to say, just before we jump into the next question, you know who my vote is for the next person to appear in Lucha Underground for season 5?
Who's that?
El Mata. I don't know if they can afford his bill.
I was gonna say something tells me nah, I don't think he will, but
it's 2026, Haas. Anything could happen.
But all right, let's go ahead and jump into the next question and see what we got going here. The latest rounds of WWE releases have been announced. Did any of the announcements surprise you? And then we're actually going to have a follow-up to this question. But I don't want to go into the follow-up yet. I'm sure that we're going to talk about it though. And that will get us to the follow-up question. But every year it seems to be right after Mania, you always get the releases. And so I'm not surprised that they had mass releases, but some of the names did surprise me, and I had to do 2 different banners for this because I could not do one. I could have scrolled it and done it, but I could not do one as a still banner. So I made 2 different still banners. Let's look at the names here. We have Aleister Black, Zelina Vega, Kairi Sane, Uncle Howdy, who also known Bo Dallas, Nikki Cross, Santos Escobar, the Motor City Machine Guns, Dexter Loomis, Apollo Crews, Eric Rowan, Joe Casey, Andre Chase, Zoe Stark, Alba Fire, Tyra May Steele, Tyra May Steele, Serena Linton, Tyson, Tyreek, Chris Island, Malik Blade, Trill London, and Lucia Cristofano. Now, I know some people might go, who the heck was that? Well, that's because they were NXT, and
Or Evolve and ID system, yeah, which is like those. I'll let you start with those, Haas, because I'm sure you're itching at the bit to this.
So I mean, yeah, some of them we didn't even hear of, and so who cares? No big deal. And I shouldn't say who cares, but it's not as big of a deal because we didn't hear of them. But I mean, when you look at names like Aleister Black, yeah, that the fact that they just recently got him back not long ago and now releasing him, that kind of was a surprise. Kairi Zane, she has been in storylines and gone. The Wyatt Six, some of them, no, you didn't really. I don't really think you saw much out of some of them. Like Uncle Howdy. How often did you actually see him other than really in a management type thing? You didn't see him in the ring a whole lot.
That may be, but managers are still important. I mean, Zelina
yes.
she got booted and she was Aleister Black's manager, and that's still just as important.
And I mean, but my point is there's some of them you didn't see in a ring a whole lot, so they weren't really used much. So yeah, not quite as surprising, but I mean, you had the Wyatt Six just recently holding tag team championships, and now gone. Like I say, you had Zelina Vega and Kairi Zane. You had her in a storyline recently, just gone. The Motor City Machine Guns. Everybody made such a big deal over them when they came in, and now gone. It's just so. Yes, some of them. I mean, Alba Fire. She's been in stories recently. They were starting to use her again. So yes, there were some surprising names there to me because of that. And I just, I like I say, I'm not surprised they did cuts. I'm not even surprised they were mass cuts. But I'm surprised that at the names of people who have been involved in storylines recently. That's crazy. That doesn't normally happen. Normally, if they're going to cut them, they haven't been using them. And it's like, where have they been? Who cares? But yeah, it's a shock.
And the messed up part is that you said it perfectly, that it's almost like we're used to this now. That, oh, it's Mania season. All right, let's see who lost the draw and got kicked out or got fired, got released every single time following it. And I'm not an expert in this. I know that like business isn't exactly my forte when it comes to math, but and I understand them cutting the people that are kind of lower end on that. Like I'll be honest, I'm not exactly crushed that Apollo Crews got released. I understand some of the lower end talent, but I had mentioned this in our group chat, and that is that this is the same vibe as I want to say 2 or 3 years ago when they released Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman and just all these other big name guys, despite their ability on the roster. And it must be difficult for other people on the roster to not feel like their job is in jeopardy because it doesn't matter if you're in a major storyline or a major faction or competing for titles or they just re-signed you. you can get the boot just as much as the next person, unless your name is Roman Reigns or CM Punk. And I can't imagine what this is going to do for morale. Granted, I think it means that WWE has faith in the people that they kept around, but it also does create sort of a sink or swim mentality. And again, I know it's professional wrestling, and I know you should be doing that regardless, but I still don't think it's really fair for those of them, especially Kairi Sane. And I wanted to tie this into something actually, because I don't know if you've noticed, recently we've been getting lots of "We want Kyrie" chants, or "We want Kyrie back," and we're seeing it on their Facebook pages, Instagram, social media networks. And I have to ask, do people actually care this much about Kyrie? I do. I love Kyrie Sane. I think she's great. I think she's a great commodity. But do you think this is people genuinely interested in the direction the story was going? Or is this our truth 2.0? Like, is this deja? I have to ask Hardcore House, is this deja vu? Do you think people are being outraged for the sake of being outraged because, oh, we totally care about this wrestler that we weren't cheering for until she left?
Yeah, if they tend to do this a lot. As far as wrestling fans, they'll have somebody that they did like, and then they'll get released. And most of the time, though, it's somebody that you haven't heard from a while. Just like you brought up R-Truth. When they released R-Truth that time, what had he been really doing prior to that? You hadn't seen a lot of him. They released him, and everybody's, we want R-Truth back. I can't believe you released R-Truth. Well, where had he been? And so it's a little different with Kyrie because you had seen her recently, but that from what you were, to tie into what you were saying there, the wrestling fans tend to do that. They don't show that they care about the wrestler. They don't tend to, they're just like, yep, they're there. Okay. And then once they get released, they're, hey, bring them back. I liked them. Why did you release them? And throwing a fit over it. And why weren't you throwing a fit when you didn't see him on TV before?
Well, and what's especially jarring is that eventually WWE does cave and is like, okay, you've made your point. All right, we brought her back. And then what happens? The exact same thing. They go, oh, she's back. Okay.
Yeah,
nothing.
exactly.
Just flatline, radio silence. It's like, wow, I thought you cared about this person. I thought you were making a big stink about this. But then, I'm reminded of a clip from SpongeBob that describes wrestling fans to a T. And I will absolutely stand on business for this because it's so accurate. And it's a clip of this little kid, and he's got a little cone of ice cream, and he's screaming and crying, and he's going, but I don't like pistachio. And his dad says, then why did you order it? That is wrestling fans. They get exactly what they order, and they still bitch and moan.
Yeah, I've always said wrestling fans are fickle. They absolutely are.
I'll say.
And it's just the way they are. And it's kind of like you said, though, they tend to cave. And that's the thing. They just released 23 people. Out of those 23 people, how many of them, give it 2-3 months, how many of them are going to get a contract again? How many of them are going to come back? And then once they do, you're going to see them for 3 months to a year, and they'll get cut again. What's the point? Why do they continuously cut these people just to bring them back, just to cut them again and bring them back again? Why? It makes no sense.
I can tell you 2 reasons. One, tax write-offs. It's easy to say, well, this wrestler didn't really do much, so we can just release them legally, and then we can get our money back. And then, oh, hey, we got our money back, so let's buy them back. And this ties into the second reason, which is they don't want anybody else to have them. And by anybody else, I mean they don't want AEW to have them. And that's the problem, is that WWE, even to this day, whether it's Vince McMahon in charge, whether it's TKO / Paul Levesque, they have this real nasty habit of buying up all the talent that they can find and being perfectly content not doing anything with them, saying, "Hey, buddy, we already paid your contract out. You can just stay home and do whatever you want because we don't care and we don't have any plans for you. But we just don't want you going to Japan or going to Canada or going to Impact or, anywhere that we don't have because we're the only game in town." And therein lies the issue, is the fact that that's why we get these mass releases, is because they realize, hey, we want to make sure we're padding out our bank accounts even harder. So let's release the people that we didn't do anything with, that we paid for to begin with, because blah.
Well, and you kind of touched on this earlier. I said that this was going to tie into another question, so I do want to throw it out there since I brought it up. But like I say, you kind of touched on this earlier a little bit, and that is, that with the Wyatt 6 being released, what does this spell for the rest of the roster going forwards? Because, like we said, some of these people that were released were actually in storylines, and you've actually seen them on TV recently. And like in the case of the Wyatt 6, it's a whole faction that got released. That's the thing that normally is unheard of. You might hear of a couple people from a faction. I've heard of a tag team being released before. So, Motor City Machine Guns being released at one time. Yeah, that's something that we don't hear of quite as much, but we do hear about. But a whole faction at one time, that's just crazy that they did that. And so what does that mean for the people on the roster moving forwards? Do they have to be more scared now? Do they have to be a little more worried? Because now, if I'm in a faction, they may get rid of my whole faction, including me. And whereas previously, yeah, they might pick and choose people from my faction, but I think I'm safe. Do they need to worry now?
And I want to point this out because I don't think a lot of people have been thinking about this too. But think about how much this cuts into the different divisions in the WWE. And what I mean by that is we've lost the Wyatt 6 and the Motor City Machine Guns. They are former WWE Tag Team Champions. What does that spell for the tag team roster on SmackDown? Because who else do we have left? I mean, the Street Profits just came back, which is good. They're homegrown. They're great. It's good to see them come back. But off the top of your head, how many tag teams can you name, Haas?
Not very many.
Just humor me. How many can you think of off the top of your head right now? So you got the Street Profits. That's one.
Actually, my mind's going blank right now.
And then I'll help. Okay. The Usos. Okay.
Yeah.
That's one. You'll give him that. And then I guess we'll count the champions. So R-Truth and Damian Priest, even though it's not a real tag team. And the Vision, right? And then I assume they still have the Viking Raiders. I have no idea. We haven't seen them, but that's something. And then I'm drawing a blank. And then what is it? The oh God, what are their names? The crew, the Tamatonga Tongaloa, the dudes that are with Solo Sikoa. So that's 6. I got 6 tag teams between 2 rosters and 2 WWE Tag Team Championships. What are we doing?
Susie says MFT.
There you go. So
But,
that's 7.
But the tag team division was already slim, and they just made it slimmer. And I don't know. It's just crazy. But it's like you mentioned the Viking Raiders. It wouldn't have been as shocking to see them on the list, because how often do you see them? They're not used that often, but they kept their contract.
Just thought of another, the New Day.
Yeah. So it's definitely crazy. I can't believe all. Well, I can believe all the people who got released, but I can't believe the actual names. It's like I said, it has come to where after these big pay-per-views, yep, we're getting a mass release. It's happening. But to be the names on some of them that there were, it's just crazy. I'm shocked.
Now, I guess let's go down the list here. Assuming WWE doesn't sign them back, where do you see some of these people making a splash? And I kind of want to be the one to take the step here. Can we take a minute to talk about Aleister Black for a second? Just the fact that this man, and this is the reason why I hate wrestling discourse, because people are so diehard. I don't care who there are WWE stands and AEW stands. There are these dudes that draw the battle lines when it comes to, oh, well, Rusev was better in WWE. He was wasted in AEW despite having a very dominant title run. And then he proceeds to get his ass beat by Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship. But that's neither here nor there. But the idea that somebody like Aleister Black, who was given pretty decent treatment in AEW. I know he wasn't world champion, but he was put in a major feud with Cody Rhodes. He was being booked and became trios champion with the House of Black. And, apparently there's a lot of backstage conversation being leaked that everybody's like, yeah, no, he had a very horrible attitude and he didn't like losing. And I understand buying your hype. I understand preserving yourself as a professional wrestler, but I also understand being a professional and taking the damn pin because I sign your paychecks. And it seems like for somebody like Aleister, this could be a very big wake-up call. The fact that he thought the grass was going to be greener on WWE after having leave AEW and saying, oh, you know what? I don't have to take this. I was treated better here. And then immediately getting released. So I have to wonder, where does the road take Aleister Black going forward? Because quite frankly, I don't think he's coming back to AEW, and I think the roster is past it. I think Brody King, and I'm probably going to catch strays for this, I think Brody King has exceeded Aleister Black in terms of being a contender in AEW, and that if he comes back, he's going to drag him down.
Well, and I have heard through the rumor mill, this is nothing confirmed. This is not 100% fact. This is straight rumor mill. But I've heard that a lot of the talent in AEW locker room has told Tony Khan they don't want Aleister Black back, and that they're going to be very upset, and some of them have actually threatened to walk if Aleister Black comes back. Now, like I say, I don't know that to be fact. I haven't heard exact names, but I have heard that through the rumor mill. Now, we all know how the rumor mill goes. That could be true. It may not be true. I don't know. But, it's definitely going to be interesting. David Owen, Sick, our new hardcore champion in the FWWC, he says rumors going around that the Wyatt Six are going to be in JCW. I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting to see where some of them wind up. Like I say, I look for some of them to end up back with the contract with WWE, just because that's the way WWE does. Will they be used right after that? Probably not. But, I definitely don't look for all of them to get a contract.
Well, and what I don't really understand is, with somebody like WWE, you have other avenues. You own AAA, and I understand not everybody's going to fit in the AAA landscape. It helps if you're, predominantly Latin American or Mexican or Hispanic, whatever. But I'm also like, you're partnered with TNA. So, you think maybe you can cut their pay a little bit and drop them down to a smaller market, because then they're a big fish in a little pond and they get their status quo up, their name value up. I don't know. I don't know what awaits Aleister Black. I don't look forward to it. The Wyatt Six, I think anybody would be happy to drop them. Honestly, I think AEW stands to gain the most if they join them.
And Susie mentions how many of them have a 90-day no-compete clause. I can tell you any of them that had a main roster contract had the 90-day no compete clause. Now, I have heard that NXT does not have a 90-day compete clause.
Thankfully.
So any of them that are NXT, any of them that are Evolve, any of them that are the other group just slipped my mind. But anyway, any of them that are not main roster, I don't believe has a 90-day compete clause. But anybody who was main roster contracted has that 90-day no compete clause. So it's going to be interesting. Give it 3 months and there's going to be an open market.
It's such a I understand there's a reason for it to a degree. I understand to some extent, but man, is that the ultimate kick in the nuts as a professional wrestler, that you're an independent contractor, but you can only work here. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to take my talent elsewhere. You fire me. Okay, we're going to fire you because you're not doing anything on our roster. But we want to make sure you're not doing anything anywhere else either. Like, just kick him in the nose while you're at it. Just make sure you stick his nose in it. Just shove him in the ground.
So, real quick, and we'll get back to some more questions here, but everybody knows that at this point in the show, we normally have our FWWC segment with Dewan Mills. And you've heard us mention the FWWC a few times, and you've been seeing the title that I hold, the title that Gabe's holding. Those are FWWC titles. So we want to go ahead and acknowledge our FWWC segment. Dewan Mills cannot be here tonight, unfortunately. He's taking care of some personal business. Otherwise, he would be here. But FWWC, it's Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide chapter. It is our take on fantasy sports. You have fantasy football, fantasy baseball, fantasy soccer, fantasy racing, all kinds of fantasy leagues. Well, we have fantasy wrestling. And we have a really good time with it. You can win actual championships. Gabe is our Warriors Heart champion. I am a tag team champion, former hardcore champion. We've got
now.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say full transparency. Unfortunately, you might have to put me in center screen for this. This is actually my replica belt, so I have been using this as a stand-in due to the fact that we have been having issues with UPS shipping me our new belt. Our very own Will Bromlow, Ace Doomed Outfitters. He has developed a new belt. He is shipping it. We're hoping to get it down sometime this week. We can have a photo of it. But yeah, for those of you, if you're interested, this belt is not the one you will be getting. I apologize, as much as I would like to keep the story going for this kind of thing. But the belt that I will be getting is pretty damn awesome, and I hope to show it here on the podcast eventually. But I'd just like to get that out of the way in case anybody's like, well, I want that WWF blue strap belt. No, this one's mine.
But, you talk about the belts, like I say, this is the
quality. You already shipped out the hardcore one? We can't see it.
The hardcore, it's already gone clear across the country. The new champion already has it. But this is from what you can see of it, is our tag team championships. That's real metal. It's real leather. They are real championships. As we said, Ace Will Bromlow over at Doomed Outfitters, he takes care of our championships for us. So, they are quality championships. So don't judge our championships by Gabe's over there. But
I mean, to be fair, this one's falling apart too. Like, I don't know if you guys can see this. It's missing like 3 diamonds, and the leather on the back is falling apart. So if anything, Will's belts are better.
But yeah, it's we just came off of Universe Mania, lot of great action. You know, we want to congratulate the champs that did retain, such as Gabriel Larson retained the Haas Mafia. We retained our tag team championships. You know, Susie, she retained her international championship. We want to congratulate our new champions, being Sick David Owen. Um, he is the new hardcore champion, dethroned me after 3 years of holding
Do
it.
it, doing the unthinkable and finally putting away Hardcore Haas's legendary 1,000-day plus reign.
Here is the international championship that Susie Haas currently holds. And her tag team titles here too. So, but it looks just like mine.
And
But you know,
our newest
we,
world heavyweight champion, Rage,
yeah,
defeating
our
brother Brown Bear to break his record before he could break the Lawman's record.
So, you know, that it was a great, great big show. You know, and congratulations to Jason Curtis, who won our Camp Crystal Lake match, which was a memorial match to Voorhees. You know, he is a member that we just recently lost just prior to Universe Mania, and so
Michael Carr, I
congratulations.
believe.
I don't believe it was Carr. It was Michael. Until you said it, I could have remembered the last name, but it was Mike. It just came in my head and went right back out. But
Carter.
anyway, Carter, yes, yes. You know, great guy. I did meet him once, and he was a great guy. He could actually do, and I don't know if you ever heard him do this game. He could actually do a hard, or actually a big Haas imitation. Because I used to do a voice that even I don't know if I can do anymore. But he could do it perfectly. So he could do it better than I could. And he used to love to walk around and do my promo. And, you know, the weekend that I saw him, the whole weekend, he'd walk around, hey, I'm Big Haas, you know, and he did it perfectly. And he was a great guy. So we had a memorial match to him. Congratulations to Jason Curtis for picking up the victory in that match. You know, but yeah, as I say, Sick did take my hardcore title after a 3-year reign. And congratulations to him. Nobody better could have taken it, honestly. I mean, Sick is a great competitor here in the FWWC, and I just congratulate him on that. And so, but it took a fatal 4-way match for me to lose that title. Nobody ever beat me in a one-on-one for it. It took a fatal 4-way to do it. But
This is true.
I'm, you know, I am proud of my title reign, but at the same time, I am not. I've actually had people hitting me up. Hey, are you okay? Hey, how's it going since you lost the title? Are you okay? And you know, I'm fine with it. I'm happy for him. Like I say, I shipped out the title the very next day. He received it Monday. So he does have it. He'll be showing it off. And I just look forward to seeing what he's going to do with it. And holding that title, I told Ace, you know, I was kind of stuck where I was because I couldn't go for the bigger titles I could, and I couldn't go for any other singles title at all. So I was stuck in the mid card. And now that I have lost that title, I can now go for the bigger titles. So, I'm definitely looking forwards to being able to go for other titles now. And that is my intention, to go for other titles.
Don't you have a tag team title?
I mean, other singles titles.
See, you want to talk about this, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Hardcore Haas. He's not satisfied unless he's got a belt on each shoulder. Never change, Haas. Never change. No, I completely understand. And I'd like to actually throw this out there because this is something I have in the works. And as a retaining Warriors Heart champion, I know that I have the target on my back since retaining my belt against my Assassin Syndicate constituent ace, in that I know everybody in the locker room wants a piece. And to quote one John Cena, if you want some, come get some. But for those of you who have been keeping up, we are currently missing a belt that used to guarantee you an opportunity at this Warriors Heart Championship. But I have been in discussions with our CEO, Mr. Dewan Mills, about an idea that yours truly has come up with to sort of circumvent that opportunity. Well, we may not have a belt. I want to tease this. It is still in development. I will most likely have to be the one who takes control of the situation because I do not need to put more workload on the board of directors. But keep an eye out, ladies and gentlemen, for the Spartans Heart Championship Invitational. And I will leave you with that.
So, but yeah, if you want to know more about the FWWC, though, right now we are on a break, but we will be getting back to action soon. There are rumors. I'm not going to say it's a definite, but there are rumors that there may be a pay-per-view here in the next few weeks, but that's not confirmed yet. So don't hold me to that. But other than that, stay tuned. Check out Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide Chapter on Facebook. And at the same time, feel free to hit up Gabe, hit up myself, hit up the Night Owl, hit up Dewan Mills, hit up Ace, and we'll be more than happy to talk to you more about the FWWC. And you can fill out the questionnaire when you sorry, something else just caught my attention there. But you can fill out the questionnaire when you click to join the FWWC on Facebook, and someone will get in touch with you, most likely myself, and we will get you going. So, we like I said, we always have a good time. So, but that's FWWC. All right. So let's go ahead and get back to some more high spots. Normally we would have Big Daddy P joining us as well, but unfortunately he is also tied up tonight, so he will not be joining us. But let's go ahead and hit a few more high spots.
Am I the only one who takes offense to it that when me and you get everything together, nobody wants to show up on the show? Just am I wrong? Am I wrong? It's like, do we just persist? Do they think we're too big for them to make an impact?
Well, honestly, Big Daddy, he has church services tonight, so
I figure.
He unfortunately can't make it. Like I say, Dewan hit us up. He did have personal issues, so
very last minute personal issues. But
we can let that slide. But
always.
Let's go ahead and hit this randomizer and see what else it's got for us.
It wouldn't be WTP if I wasn't busting Perry's chops. I love you, Perry.
All right, let's see, what do we got here? Did Brock Lesnar go off script with his retirement? And if so, why? Gabe, why don't you go ahead and take us on this one?
Oh boy. Okay. So first of all, I'd just like to say I, for one, am thoroughly glad. I am so happy that Obafemi ate this man alive. Like I said, he channeled all the anguish and pain and loss of Bobby Lashley and Kofi Kingston and Big E and even The Rock, every last African American champion who has ever held that WWE championship was able to channel all their energy into Obafemi like their best from the Black Panther. And we have a new monster who is going to run roughshod on the WWE roster. And of course, our one and only favorite, everybody else is not mine, Brock Lesnar decided to finally throw in the towel. And a lot of people online are saying that he may have gone off script due to a signal that he threw up before he put his boots away, in that he gave up the X signal. And for those unfamiliar, this is the official sign to the locker room or to the back, the people in the boards and stuff, that shit is about to go south or shit has already gone south. In that, I absolutely believe this man went off script. It is Brock Lesnar. The man has only and always ever thought about himself and how he can preserve and present himself in a way that appeals to Brock Lesnar. I don't fault that. I just hate the man. But the reason I say this is because when you think about the past couple of retirements here in the WWE, what has been the connecting thread? Gunther. And it stands to reason that Brock Lesnar went into business for himself because he did not want to lose to Gunther. And the reason I stand by this is because his contract, or at least from rumors speculating, he was supposed to be in the WWE and his last match was to be at SummerSlam. Why? Because it's in Minnesota. That's his hometown. That's where he would have retired, where he would have hung up the boots and called it a night. And what better way to preserve the retirement of an individual than to feed the monster who's been the guy who's retired, the modern day legend killer, if you will. And it seems like Mr. Lesnar had no spare fucks in his pocket to give, packed up his trailer and got the fuck out of Dodge because it's Brock Lesnar and he can do whatever he wants. Honestly, goodbye. Nice to know you. I won't miss you. Hope the door doesn't hit you on the way out. Glad we got Obafemi. That's just me. But what do you think, Haas?
You know, honestly, did he go off script? I think so. Just because, you know, if you look at it, they've never been able to keep a secret when somebody's retiring. Never. You know, name one other person that retired that nobody knew was going to happen. You know, it always leaks out. And so for him to retire and not have it leaked, no, he couldn't have told him. That's just my opinion. Otherwise, it would have gotten out somewhere. Now, it's been said Paul Heyman didn't know it, which, if you look at Paul's reaction, he did seem to be very surprised and very emotional over it. So either he didn't know it or he's just a damn good actor. So yeah, I can believe that it was off script. You know, and it could be both, but you know, I believe that it was an off script thing. I have heard that it's just all kayfabe. He didn't really retire. Honestly, I kind of think, and this is just me, that one of the things that solidified him retiring was that match. Because when have we ever in the history of tongue-tied for a moment. When have we ever in the history of Brock Lesnar seen Brock get owned the way he did by Obafemi?
Kurt Angle, Goldberg. That's about it.
I don't even think they owned him the way Obafemi did.
I absolutely disagree with you because Goldberg beat him with 2 spears and a jackhammer in less than a minute, and Oba had to get knocked into the guard post because Brock's a little bitch. But no, just that it's Kurt Angle I say because he tapped him out, but we're not going to pretend like that's a big number anymore. But
I mean,
but building as far as new people go or building up a star, nobody has gotten this over against Brock Lesnar the way that Oba did, and nobody has eaten an F5 the way that Obafemi did. This man took it and ate it for breakfast.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know. I think that Brock after that match, I think he was not happy at all, and that's when he said, "You know what? Perfect time. I'm done," and just walked out. And it's you know, and there again, you talk about the fickle wrestling fan, and they went from booing Brock and hating Brock to thank you, Brock.
I wasn't. I was, everybody else in the arena was confused and worried the whole time that happened. I was chanting, na, 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 hey, 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 goodbye. Because I could give a shit. I hate Brock Lesnar. I will stand on the fact that I hate this man, and I am so glad he's retired. And even if it's not now and he retires at SummerSlam, I cannot wait for it to happen. Just because I could care less. But I think you're right in that I think Brock knew that he liked Oba more, and between losing to him and retiring or losing to Gunther and retiring, he decided I prefer putting Oba over because I actually like this kid. Because that's the one thing I will give Brock is that he's good. If he likes you, he will absolutely sell his ass off for you.
And another question that was put in is, what's next for the next big thing? And well, nothing. That's my answer. Nothing. He's retired. He's done. Nothing.
He's going to go back to Minnesota and eradicate the deer population and just go back to Sable and then help his daughter, his freakish muscle-bound daughter, get into the Olympics throwing shot put. That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, Gabe, I think that's going to do us for right now for high spots. There are a couple still in there, I believe, but maybe we'll catch one here in a little bit. Maybe we'll throw one out to our guest and see what he thinks of it, or but for now, I think we're going to close the chapter on our high spots, which leads us to another segment that we have recently brought back. So let's go ahead and hit the music. There it is. Let's hit the music for our shoot and shout segment.
It's just one of those days when you don't want to wake up. Everything is fun, everybody sucks. You don't really know why, but you want to justify ripping someone's head off. No human contact, and if you interact, your life is on contract. Your best bet's to stay away, motherfucker. It's just one of those days. It's all about the he says, she says bullshit.
All right, Gabe, it's time for our shoot and shout. This is the segment where each one of us will get about 30 seconds to a minute or so where we can talk about whatever we want. Does not have to be wrestling related, just something that is chapping our rear ends, and we just want to go off on it. And so it doesn't matter. It can be wrestling related. It can be about the air and a bag of potato chips. We've had that one before. So let's go ahead, Gabe, and get this thing going. Why don't you start us off? Because we know that you always have something on your mind.
I think you should start us off because I'm going to set the standard way too high, but I absolutely have something off my chest that I need to get to. And that is that this is completely, this is adjacent to wrestling, but boy, howdy, is it the dumbest, worst thing that I could ever talk about in this moment because I need a platform for this. And if this is what gets me in trouble in the future, I don't care because you guys know exactly what I'm going to be talking about. That is that I hate fandom. I hate fandom. I don't hate fans. I don't hate fanatics. I hate fandom because the same 200 people that are the most toxic, disgusting, rotted people ever, that are the reason that every single person is embarrassed to call themselves a fan of pro wrestling, whether it's the Amazing Digital Circus, whether it's Attack on Titan or anime, whether it's independent animations, video games, whatever. I hate you. From the bottom of my heart, I hate you. I have a disdain for you, and I have nothing but absolute dislike and vitriol towards you because you are the reason that it is hard. I am misanthropic because of these people. I hate humanity. Not that I hate you as a person. I don't hate you for your race or your sexuality or your identity, whatever. I hate you as a species. That if I could disconnect and be an alien and say, guess what? You're horrible. I hate you because you are a human being. This is those people. And it's because apparently, we like to surround ourselves with these people who have this idea of, oh, well, when a good person who does 99.9% good in their life does one thing, one tiny little thing, they are just throw the baby out with the bathwater, set fire to everything. We got to burn this witch at the stake, right? But when the terrible, horrible people, yourself included, because I know you're a terrible person, for the fact of the matter that you like to feel superior to these kinds of people. These kinds of people feed off of that. They feed off of this negative emotion. They like to fuel themselves and tell themselves, oh, I didn't know I was better than you, because you're not. All right, you're not better than me. You're not better than these creators. You're not better than the people who actually make something of themselves. You're a parasite who feeds off of the idea that, well, you know what? I didn't get caught doing something terrible. I hide in my closet with my skeletons like a normal person. Fuck you. I hate you. And I'm so sorry if our guest has to see this in the back right now, but I have been eating away at this because the amount of people who like to dig up things that happened years ago. Oh, we just can't pretend that these things matter. They happened years ago. Yeah, they did. And they're wanting to be a better person. Well, they're not a better person now and they weren't a better person then. From the bottom of myself, go fuck yourself. Thank you. Fuck you. Bye. Sorry. Yes. Jesus H. Christ. I can't, dude. There's this whole fandom online to this indie animation. If you haven't seen the Amazing Digital Circus, absolutely check it out. But they are digging up these like old clips of these dudes and they're claiming, oh, they're racist, and they never said anything racist or offensive. And to the point that they actually apologize for it. And it is the single dumbest thing I've ever seen. The fandom is imploding on itself. And I'm like, congratulations, you are toxic and you destroy everything you touch. And I do not look forward to the next thing that you get your disgusting, filthy, grubby fingers on. Anyways, you wanted to follow that up, Haas. I'm sorry. This is why I wanted to go second.
All righty. Well,
get me off camera. I gotta get a drink.
All right. Well, trying to follow that up here, that's going to be tough. But my shoot and shout is I absolutely hate insurance companies. They sit there and they'll sit there and they'll say, okay, well, no, we're not going to pay for this unless you do this, 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 and this. Well, I've already done this, 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 and this. Well, not with us, you didn't. Who cares? Just pay for what I need. Let me have what I need and be done with it. Don't make me jump through hoops to get what I need. If I need it, I need it. If there's other people who say that I need it, let me have it. So, that's just my shoot and shout. So, Gabe took a little bit longer than his 30 seconds to minute, so I just keep mine short, and that's my shoot and shout.
I took exactly as long as I needed to because the second half we're dedicating to our fantastic guests. And I just want to say thank you so much for waiting, just because these people deserve 10 hours worth of dragging through the mud because I cannot stand them. I hate them with every fiber of my being. And I can't stand them because they remind me the reason that when I get into the wrestling business and everybody's going to be like, oh man, he's such a cool guy behind the stage. Why does he play a heel? Because I hate people and this is my venue. This is my avenue. This is my way that I can hold a mirror and tell a joke sideways to be like, guess what? This is stupid and you're all stupid. Yeah, your boos mean nothing because I've seen what make these people cheer and I can't stand it.
All right, Gabe.
Wait, can you pull up? I didn't get to read. What did he say?
He said that insurance companies are nothing but the mob and hiding.
This is true.
And they're there to rob you. So, and shout out to Marcus. You know, great to see you checking in, brother. And Gabe Susie says she still loves you.
Somebody has to.
But, you know, it's that time in the show here where we bring in our great guest that is sitting in the back waiting. I'm surprised, you know, he didn't take off running during that rant there that you had going, Gabe. But he stayed through it, and it is time to bring him in. So would you like to do the honors, sir?
I shall do my best, only because I have to use my notes here. I just want to take an opportunity to say, ladies and gentlemen, this guest is a fantastic individual. I am so glad that we could work around his schedule. He is currently training people in professional wrestling, and I hope that I can get some lessons from you here tonight, man. But I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge and welcome a hearty Wrestle Talk podcast. Welcome to the one, the only, he is the ass-kicking machine, Mathias!
Hey, welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me on.
I hope you don't have family in the immediate area. I apologize for my potty mouth, sir, but I can't thank you enough for making it on the show tonight, man.
Yeah, my fiance, she's trained for a marathon, so she just left for a run, and she didn't hear any of that.
Perfect.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. Now that you're here on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Well, thank you for joining us. You know, we're glad that you could make it, and we're glad that we were able to work it out for you to come on and everything. So, you know, thank you for that. And we look forward to talking to you and just learning more from here. So, Gabe, you want to take the first one, or you want me to take it?
I mean, I think I got plenty of questions loaded up, and like I said, I got my notes handy, so I apologize if I'm glancing down every now and then. But I just want to say, if anything, can we start with your championship I see in the back there, man, and can you tell us how we recently obtained that and what we plan on doing, sir?
That is the SoCal Pro Heavyweight Championship. I actually won that just over a year ago. I had my 1-year anniversary just about 10 days ago from having first won that. SoCal Pro, it's a promotion down here. It's close to San Diego, basically San Marcos is where it's actually based out of. It's just a little bit above San Diego. But I defended all over the place, you know. Our main place is up there in Vista and San Marcos area, but I've, you know, defended in NorCal, SoCal, anywhere that, I mean, even Arizona, anywhere that books me. I'll put that title on the line because the result's going to be the same. I always win.
We can definitely see that. I'm glad. I hope we can get a zoom in on that later because that is a classy looking belt.
I mean, I can technically just bring it to you.
Please and thank you. I mean, yeah. I like to brandish this bad boy, but look at that. Can we get a good zoom in on that? Oh, look at that.
Nice and detailed.
As prestigious as the man who holds it, man. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's looking great now.
I'm very proud to have this one. You know, when I first started professional wrestling, my very first goal was to become SoCal Pro Heavyweight Champion. I won a couple other championships before and hereafter since, but this is the main one that I set my sights on when I first started professional wrestling. The next one I'm looking for, WWE Championship.
Yes. I like it. You always want to aim high, man. You know what they say? You shoot for the stars because even if you miss, you land amongst the clouds. That's all
Absolutely.
It is. Now, I want to start with a simple one, you know, just because it's the way we introduce you. This is how most people know you as. but you know, you go by the nickname the ass kicking machine. Now, I have to ask, does that, you know, is that a name that you yourself came up with? Is that something that people called you? And then, you know, where exactly is the machine in the ass kicking? Is it like, you know, are you, you know, meticulous and mechanical in the way you deconstruct people in the ring, or just the way that you work out? I mean, how did the ass kicking machine become a thing for Matthias?
First of all, it's Matthias. Math-I-ass is
Okay,
easy way to pronounce it. I'm not
don't
offended.
me so. That's
I
my
do
bad.
just
Sorry
have
about
one name. Let's try to get it right. All good. So when I first started, it was kind of hard to kind of figure out what I wanted to be. A lot of people that already come in and they know, and they think they know at least what they want to be exactly. And I get this in training all the time. Anyone that has their first day, they already know what their finishing move is, what their music is going to be, what their most over character is going to be. They know all that shit. And then they come in and then they're wrong. And then what do? Well, they have to make something else. So like I thought I knew what I wanted to be, you know, kind of like the Punisher, but then we already had a Punisher down here, so I had to go with something else and something else. And it took me a little while to kind of find the ass kicking machine. And what it came down to was I did martial arts for 20 years before I did professional wrestling. Just traditional martial arts, not like MMA or anything like that. And I also did powerlifting. And now in neither one of those sports do we talk. there's not a lot of talking. There's fighting and there's lifting weights, but there's not a lot of like talking and stuff. So when I first started doing promos, even though I had some experience, kind of knew I wanted to do this, and had practice doing like videos online and stuff to like get good at talking. I was comfortable with talking, but I sounded very monotone. I had very like one cadence about me the whole time, and everyone was saying like how robotic it was, like how just basic and plain, and like you're just so much like a robot, and a robot's not very cool, but a machine is. So my instructor at the time, Anthony Idol, he was I can picture his face right now. I was sitting just after training on like a Thursday night, and we had just finished like promos or something, and I was still just trying to come up with like, what am I going to be called? What am I going to be? And he's sitting on the ring apron, and he just like has this look about him. He just like has this thought come in his brain, and he's like, the machine. You could be the machine. Like that's a cool name, right? It goes with like what you already are. I mean, I'm kind of built big and strong. So like I said, I did powerlifting for a long time and martial arts. So like I could move well and I was really strong. So like, it's like you're a machine, obviously. And I'm like, oh, that's good, but it's like a little plain. Like I need to like add a little something to it, you know, add a little spice to it. So as I'm driving home, you know, that same night, I'm thinking like, oh, ass kicking machine. What do? I kick ass, you know? Ass kicking machine. It's kind of badass, right? You know? So I always want to have like a little badass character, somebody that stood out like that. And that's very much also how I perform in the ring, at least for a long time, is I kind of kick people's ass. You know, as far as like people down here in Southern California, I'm one of the larger wrestlers. You know, I'm 6 feet at the time. I was about 250 something pounds. So like I was relatively large compared to most of the guys. There's certainly some people bigger than me, but most of the guys I'm going against, you know, I'm giant compared to them. So ass kicking machine just really fit both the way I would talk and the way I would move and the way I would do anything, because I wouldn't get tired in matches. I had a really long like gas tank, you know. I could go for a long time and not really get tired. I still have a good gas tank, so it just fit. You know, everything just kind of like fit into place. And then my theme song is Click Click Boom, and I feel like that fits really well as well, you know, because like it's like my favorite song. It's been my favorite song since I was a teenager. You know, I hit a lot of powerlifting PRs to that song. It's like very motivational for me. So like, I just I really put everything together with Ass Kicking Machine. And then, funny enough, I did a seminar this last November with EC3. You know, he's at TNA now, but EC3. He was coming down here for some appointments and stuff, and he came and did a seminar for us one night. And we were going over promos, and like we did stuff, and I was saying I was the Ass Kicking Machine as part of my promo. And then afterwards, he's like, "Hey, you know, Ass Kicking Machine is actually the first nickname that WWE gave me when I got hired there." I'm like, "What? No way! I had no idea." I'm like, "Do you want it back? You want me to like not do it?" He's like, no. He's like, "No, just get it over. It's fine with me." You know, he's like, so he was a really cool guy about it, and like gave me some ideas. Even like the next day, EC3 is such a cool guy. I can't explain enough. But like the next day, he went out of his way, messaged me out of nowhere, and just like pages and pages of like thoughts he had from the night before he wanted to give to me. It's like, yeah, I went home. I was thinking this, this, and this, and this, and just it kept going and going and going. And I still have all those notes and everything he wrote to me. It's like a fantastic insight into building my character and like what I could be. And actually, off of all the notes and things that he gave me from that seminar, I actually transitioned away from the ass kicking machine. Now, I am still the ass kicking machine. You know, I can still whip some ass, but I shifted from focusing more on that kind of thing into what I am now, which kind of goes with the logo I'm wearing, my T-shirt and everything, which is I'm the peak of professional wrestling. I'm the one that everyone looks up to when I'm being face, or the one that I'm looking down at everyone else when I'm being heel. You know, I'm a Mathias above all. It's kind of my new saying. So it kind of is helping me transition into this new phase and new character, especially with holding the title in over a year now. You know, it really shows that I am kind of the peak here down in Southern California. You know, am I the greatest wrestler in the world? Maybe not, but I'm holding the title. So you want some, come get some.
Little hard to refute it from one champion to another. No, I completely understand. And I think especially when it comes to stuff like this, reinvention is very important. And I think a lot of people kind of sleep on the idea that it is good to find your niche and your signature and who you want to be in professional wrestling, but it takes more to say, well, I want to be more than the ass kicking machine. I want to be the pinnacle, the peak of professional wrestling. So it's always good to see somebody like that. That was, I mean, I myself included. I mean, Hardcore Hoss will tell you, I started off as the dude. I was some schmuck wearing a hoodie with sunglasses, and I would eat Dorito bags. And then it's like yeah, of course, you know. So it's like I slowly transitioned and became, you know, who I am now. I'm a lot more confident in my presentation and stuff like that. Now, if I can, I want to throw it back there because you mentioned powerlifting and martial arts. Now, we had a recent guy on a recent guest on our podcast, Dustin Nguyen. He's very, you know, he's actually a former he practices kung fu practitioner, and so I have to ask, do you incorporate any of your martial arts training into your wrestling in any way, shape, or form? And what exactly is the distinction between learning powerlifting versus lifting in pro wrestling? And what was the hardest transition between, you know, learning those versus learning professional wrestling when you were first getting involved?
Man, you basically just put me in a fatal four. That's 3 questions in one, man. Which one do you want me to go with first?
I got to hit him with all of them. I can't leave you on one.
I promised I will not leave until I answer all your questions, or my fiance tells me I have to go to bed. It's one of those two things.
And I'll make it quick.
Okay. Let's see. The first part of that was my martial arts, and do I incorporate into my wrestling? Very early on, I tried to, and the thing is, when I do martial arts, if I add like a jump kick or something to these guys, again, most of the guys I'm wrestling are smaller than me. If I had like a jump kick or something, I hit one of these guys, they should be dead. So yes, I have tried like little things here and there, but every time I do it, it just kind of looks off, you know? Like if I'm doing this stuff too, like you were talking about earlier, Brock Lesnar or Obafemi or something, oh yeah, cool. Like I've faced 7-foot guys and guys bigger than me, and at that point I will incorporate some of it. But like most of the matches I do, you don't really see me pull stuff out just because it looks like they should die if I hit them with kind of the moves I've been doing. But yeah, I do like instead of a drop kick, I have a jump side kick. I do sometimes a jump turn back kick. I'll do a spinning roundhouse kick. I mean, I have some fancy stuff. I do a kick up and land on my feet, no problem. So I do incorporate some martial arts stuff, but not like Steve Blackman level of martial arts stuff. It's just once in a while I'll throw something out there. I have been trying to go back to that and I'm always trying to like see different ways to add it in, but make it still be realistic and not like have the match immediately be over. You know, it's kind of like a little bit of a fine line, but also I'm also working heel pretty often, and a lot of the martial art moves are kind of defensive rather than offensive. So there's that as well. It's like I always try to incorporate it, but sometimes it just doesn't fit. You know, you don't want to force moves into your matches. It's more important to like get the story and like showmanship over than it is to like do this specific move.
Very square peg, round hole type situation.
Yeah, for now. again, when I get bigger opponents and I can do some cool shit, then yeah, I do some cool shit. But a lot of times it's just not needed, you know. Well, usually the more basic, and I like people to easily understand what I'm doing, what's going on. Sure, I could do like 4 moves in a row to this person, but I'd rather the audience be able to easily digest, like, oh, I just hit him with a backbreaker and bent him in half. He looks like his back hurts. Like, that's simple, easy to understand, instead of like, backbreaker, pick him up, spine buster, pick him up, power bomb. Well, I mean, yeah, his back hurts, but then that wasn't enough to hold him down, so I had to hit him again. Maybe his head hurts now, and then something. I was like, I'd rather just stick to one thing. Oh, his back hurts. Got it. Keep it simple.
Well, and when you nail that kind of stuff the way you do, because I've seen, dude, you hit a spine buster like no other, man. I guarantee you the Andersons would be proud, man. Haas, if you get a chance to check it out, you got to see this man's spine buster. It's nasty.
Thanks,
But it goes a long way. And I think a lot of wrestlers, myself included, I'm learning this as I watch a lot of classic tapes and stuff. It's one of those things where they say, oh, well, he only knows how to do 5 or 6 moves. Yeah, but he hits them 5 or 6 moves like you would not believe. He only needs to hit a spine buster because when he hits it, he folded that dude in half like a chair. So it's an art and a nuance I think a lot of people kind of don't think about when it comes to professional wrestling because, oh, isn't it cooler when he does 3 moves in a row? Yeah, but that takes away from the narrative. And like you said, that's what you're aiming for.
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways of wrestling. Like I could do a super indie match where I'm doing a ton of moves, and I could do the super basic, and I could do everything in between. I just prefer the style of the super easy and simple to understand, but I know a lot of people do like the super indie stuff. So, like, it's what kind of wrestler do you like? Do you like the AEW stuff? Do you like the WWE stuff? There's 2 sides to it. You can enjoy it all. It's just the style that I prefer for my wrestling is more simple and kind of badass in my terms of like you don't have to do a lot, you just hit them once, they're down. Instead of doing a ton of moves. That's just the style I prefer, but I still have respect for the super indie style too.
No, I want to say with powerlifting, obviously that has a different effect on your body versus other kinds of wrestling. So well, and in cases of people like Randy Orton, they have a specific idea of, well, I want to be, big. I want to have obviously the muscle. I mean, myself included. I'm trying to put on, so you can see this, dude. I'm a toothpick. But like, I can understand that you want to build muscle mass, but where do you draw the line and where did it click in your head that you're like, okay, well, I want to have that look, but I want to have the mobility, and how can I do that, so to speak?
Well, I have a degree in exercise science, and I made sure I finished college before I ever started pro wrestling, even though I really wanted to do it first. But I kind of need that kind of as a backup plan, you could say, but really I knew it would help me either way. And as far as my training goes, even when I was doing specifically just powerlifting training for like competitions and stuff, I wouldn't do like what you imagine powerlifting training is, where it's only the hardcore lifts and nothing else. Like, I would always do stretching after my routine, like at 20, 30 minutes of stretching before and after. I would always take care of my body above and beyond just doing the workouts. So I never really lost mobility. I never lost strength. I never lost like speed or anything like that. I've always been doing sprints and like my box jumps and like athletic things on top of my lifts. So I never lost the athleticism I got from martial arts, and I was also doing martial arts at the same time I was doing powerlifting. So my training never really varied. I have programs I even sell where it is very athletic style of doing powerlifting that gets people really strong and athletic, because I knew the ultimate goal for me was pro wrestling. In pro wrestling, you can't just be strong, you have to be mobile, you have to look good. So from the start with my training, it was always focused. Everything I've done in my life has always been focused at what can make me better at professional wrestling later in life. And powerlifting was certainly something I wanted to do for fun, but that's what it was. It was fun. It wasn't like I want to be a world champion powerlifter. I don't have the greatest lifts in the world, but they're certainly not bad. It's just I wanted to have knowledge of that so I could help train people for it while I was training for what my ultimate goal was, which is that title behind me and soon be WWE title. So my training hasn't varied. I still run multiple times per week doing sprints or long runs. I still do box jumps before I do my heavy squats and deadlifts. I still do heavy squats and deadlifts on the same day. On Monday's my heavy squat and deadlift day. And Wednesday is my heavy bench day, and then Friday I do light squats, and Saturday I do light bench. So I'm still training these movements and making my overall body strong. But then the accessory exercises after that is more like a bodybuilding style, you would say, where it's not just lifting heavy. It's like getting some repetition work in there and like feeling the muscle and things like that. But that's always what powerlifting has been. It's the first exercises where you're lifting with the barbell, those are the hard ones that you're lifting heavy. Everything else you're lifting like usual. So you're still building muscle, and then it just comes down to your diet and how lean you become to really see how you look. So training for the most part is relatively the same.
Of course. And the thing is, I can definitely appreciate it because I think a lot of guys get in their head about like, well, I have the look of professional wrestling. Well, it's looking and doing professional wrestling are two very different things. Is that the best of the people who can fit those together? Especially because I think you can attest to the fact that you get a lot of these dudes where they do have a background in powerlifting or, bodybuilding and that sort of thing where they have the look, but they get gassed after 5 minutes and you're not much of a world champion if you get killed. It's like, you're dry heaving after one move. So
sure, but I mean, even a lot of powerlifters, like it's not as much like that how it used to be, where like they're just eating as much as they can and getting as big as they can. There's a lot of like knowledge that's come out in the last 20 years that people realize they could still look like bodybuilders and be powerlifters. So a lot of them aren't getting gassed and tanked out like that. A lot of them come in and they already have that knowledge. But that definitely was kind of what it used to be, where you had a ton of muscle and maybe not a bunch of nutrition advice, and maybe they were a little bit slower. But these days, like there's so much knowledge out there, and people are utilizing it to their benefit that a lot of guys don't tend to get tanked. If you're going to the gym, you're usually doing it right these days.
I can tell you right now, though, your phone's going to ring off the hook with Gabriel Arsene, because I got lots of health and nutritional questions I'm going to be throwing your way after this interview.
You got it, man. Hit me up.
No, but I feel like I've kind of strong-armed this conversation. So I'd like to throw it to Haas real quick, just because I know I'm kind of taking the lead on this. So Haas, sure. I know you've been chomping at the bit, but thank you so much for hitting my questions, man.
Yeah, we were talking about your martial arts background and everything. So do you think that your striking and grappling background gave you an edge when it came to the wrestling, or is that something you had to unlearn for your pro wrestling?
It certainly gave me an edge because athletic background, that's the biggest thing that people need when they get started, which I'll tell you right now. Gabe, is like you need an athletic background, something where you're physical when you're moving around, you're moving your body through space. So like I picked up pro wrestling pretty quick, not only because I already loved it from watching it since I was a kid all the way through, but because I'd already done a lot of the stuff of falling down, getting slammed around with martial arts and like doing the tumbling and rolling and stuff. So it really helped me in that aspect. But then even guys that come in, a first day person that's done martial arts before, I tell them that, yes, martial arts. We do things wrong in pro wrestling in terms of martial arts on purpose, because then you can work with the other person. So that's also why it's sometimes hard to incorporate that. Because like if I'm doing the thing the right way, where I'm messing people up, it's kind of hard to work with. So yes, it gave me an edge and helped me learn a lot faster. But in a way, it was semi-difficult, to incorporate it.
And, what was harder to master, the discipline of the martial arts or the storytelling in professional wrestling?
Oh, man. Because I did martial arts so early on, the discipline came up pretty quick and easy. So I'm going to have to say storytelling. So I think we're all still trying to figure that one out. It's the psychology and storytelling of pro wrestling. It's almost like a moving target because like it's always evolving. We're always changing. I mean, yes, there's the base of like what we've done for so many years, but I think because as it evolves, it's a little bit of moving target. Where can you like take the crowd? Where can you touch their feels? To where they care about what you're doing. Because if they've seen it before, it's kind of hard to like get them back into it.
And I would imagine it also depends on the region too, because it's one of those things where the crowd responds differently. Like in Japan, they start off slow and then work their way up towards it, but crowds are quiet, not because, they're not interested. It's just that they're waiting and then they respond accordingly. So
Yep.
I would imagine that's something you have to account for every time.
Yep. Every week it's a moving target.
Well, and you talked about you developed your own system and everything for your training and everything, but on your worst day, and it can be mentally or physically, whatever, what keeps you pushing forwards? What is it that keeps Mathias going forwards?
Oh,
Especially when it comes to being world champion too. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to add to that.
It comes down to discipline, like we were just talking about. I have a lot of internal drive, and I think a lot of it came from my early on self-discipline. I have a lot of love for my family and my family name, which is why I go by Mathias, which is my last name. First name is Ryan, but nobody really calls me Ryan. Everyone calls me Mathias. And Mathias is the name that I want to make famous and glorious and up in lights and everything. So that's why when I first started, that was my only thing that is not changing, my name. My name is Mathias. You can have me be a fairy if you want to, or whatever you want me to be, but that's my name, because that's the thing I want to make famous and present to the world. So a lot of that drive comes from that. I want to make my family proud.
And you mentioned you wanting to make your family proud. You mentioned wanting to make it to WWE and everything. So if the world's just now being introduced to Mathias, why should they pay attention? Why should they pay attention to Mathias?
That was a great question. Because I'm the example. As I was saying a little bit earlier, I've transitioned into being the peak of professional wrestling, the example that I want everyone to look up to. Just like I looked up to so many people when I was growing up. I got the motivation to become martial art world champion and do all these heavy powerlifting lifts by the things I saw on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown when I was growing up, by John Cena and Batista and all the cool characters that I loved. So I want to be like that to so many other people. I also love the Rocky movies, I grew up loving watching the Rocky movies, and those are things I would see as I'm driving to martial art tournaments, to go win gold medals and stuff. So those are the kind of things that motivate me. I want to be that to everyone else. I want to be their motivation. I want to be their Rocky. I want to be their John Cena, and I want to lead by example for them to follow, through both the values I've learned in my life, like self-discipline, being ambitious, going after things. That's why I think people should pay attention to me.
So, and I know that you've also written several books.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, our show tonight, we titled it "Full Power," which is the name of one of your books. So how did your books come about, and everything?
So, like I said, I got a degree in exercise science, and as I had finished and graduated, I knew I wanted to do my own thing. Like I could go to a gym and be a personal trainer. I did for a little bit, but for the most part, that would just kind of essentially dead end me. Like I could only help so many people. I want to help as many people as possible. So I don't remember what it was. I think someone either a telemarketer called me or I got some sort of message of some guy wanted to help me write some books or something. And it just gave me the idea that's actually not a bad idea. It's a passive income source. I could write it and put it on Amazon and then print them out and sell them myself on my own website. And kind of I wanted the income from that to pay for my professional wrestling training. So at the time, I wasn't wrestling. I was living up in NorCal where there wasn't any pro wrestling around. The nearest thing was, 6 hours away, nearest training center. And I didn't have the money to move because my family isn't poor, but we're certainly not rich. I had to pay my way through college and everything. And I'm still paying for it, to be honest. So the whole point of writing the books was to get some passive income and help people along the way so that then I could start my pro wrestling training. Because everything I've been doing in my life, I've been trying to become a pro wrestler. And I loved working out, getting strong. I love seeing John Cena pick up the Great Khali on his shoulders and flip him off a crane. So I wanted to, big and strong and help other people like that too, because it wasn't easy for me to get strong. It actually took me a long time. I had to really fight for every ounce of strength that I have. I'm still fighting for it. So uh, I wanted to help people not have to struggle as much as I've struggled to become stronger and better at what I do.
Yeah, and I know it does take a lot to really get into wrestling and get strong at it and to really do a good job at it.
Yeah.
So, but so you mentioned everything that you do is because you wanted to be a pro wrestler, and it all goes into that. But once you actually started your training and got into the independent wrestling scenes, what's one thing that um the what's one thing people may not really know about independent wrestling that was kind of a shock or just kind of a just a realization that wow, I would have never thought of this or I never realized it.
It's hard. I mean, a lot of people think that, but they don't understand it. They think it's hard. They're like, oh, yeah, I know. You don't know. You don't have any idea unless you're in it. You have no idea. You don't know how long those late nights are. Yeah, you've been up for some late nights with your friends on the weekend stuff. You don't get the late nights that we get. You haven't driven to LA one night, 2 3 hours up there, got back at like 2 a.m., woken up at 4 a.m., driven to Arizona, done a show, come back, drive, make it a 26-hour day, and you're back at home and you got to be at work at 4 a.m. So like, it's hard. It's harder than you think it is, and it takes a lot of work, a lot of dedication, and a lot of self-discipline.
I'm just jotting all that down.
Yeah,
Just going forward.
like you got to be dedicated. I mean, bodybuilding is hard. Gymnastics is hard. Being an actor is hard. All these things are hard. Pro wrestling is all of those things. You have to be each of those things all the time. You have to be a bodybuilder, get your nutrition in, get your workouts in. You got to be an actor when you're doing shows. You have to be a professional when you're out there doing interviews, doing anything. It is nonstop, nonstop work, 7 days a week. It's not just the 1 or 2 days a week you have a show. It is all week long. Yep.
So you mentioned getting your nutrition in and stuff. So I I know that most of the time when you're training and everything, your people are on a very strict diet and they follow certain nutrition guidelines and everything, but they also have the cheat day. So for Matthias, what would be your meal for your cheat day?
I'm lucky enough that I enjoy a lot of things that I eat. Even when I'm dieting, a lot of times I really enjoy it. Like my treat, you could say, is every night before bed. And I still have it. It's 1 cup of low-fat cottage cheese and 1 Oikos yogurt, the little 000 yogurt. So it's basically just 40 grams of protein. It's not much else beyond that. And to me, that's a treat. I enjoy eating that. In the morning when I wake up, I have 4 whole eggs. I enjoy eating that. I mean, the one thing I don't enjoy eating is actually chicken, but that's what I eat a lot of these days.
You and everybody else that works out, right?
Yeah, I'm more of a ground beef person. Even ground beef, if it's lean and it's like strained and stuff, like that used to be my meals for a long time. I'd have just like a plate of ground beef, and that was like my lunch and or dinner. Um, but now, since I've switched kind of away from ground beef to chicken and fruit, essentially, I have like chicken and like 2 bananas, or I'll have chicken and 2 apples. That's kind of like something I enjoy, and most of what I have for lunch and dinner these days. And yeah, so I don't have like a go-to cheat meal of things I'm like thinking about all the time I need to go to, but I enjoy having ice cream. I mean, I don't have it very often. I have this last week, but before that, like probably been months. So once you get to the point where you're kind of lean and comfortable, it's okay to like have stuff almost daily because you're not going to fluctuate that much.
So then I guess one of my last questions before I pass it back to Gabe is, Gabe's mentioned that, he'd love to get into professional wrestling, and, he's soaking in all the knowledge and taking notes. What advice do you have for anybody like Gabe who wants to get in professional wrestling? What would you tell them?
And what's the best piece of advice you've been given when you got into professional wrestling?
Let me ask you something first. How many push-ups can you do?
I don't know how long you got. I want to say about 20 to 30
Okay.
without slowing down, I guess.
How much do you weigh?
I want to say about 170 to 180, give or take. I'm about 6'2".
Oh, okay. Biggest advice right now, go to the gym. You don't have to become the Hulk. You don't have to be big and thick and whatnot. You just have to build a base of strength. I actually have a book called Base of Strength. It would be great for you to get, very simple, basic stuff. Teach you how to, that's simply it, build a base. At home right now, you just be doing push-ups and squats and sit-ups for like a year and a half before I did my first pro wrestling training. I thought I was going to walk into like a WWE tryout style thing when I was doing my first class. It wasn't that, but I did a year and a half of like a bunch of push-ups and squats and sit-ups almost daily, just to like get really, really fit on top of my powerlifting to be ready for it. You don't have to do that, but like join a gym, get some strength behind you, get a little bit of muscle mass behind you. Like if you're 170 now, like you don't need to be more than 200 unless you want to be. But like somewhere 10, 20 pounds on you probably look good, because this is an aesthetic business. It's very much how you look. When they're going to select you for a WWE tryout, the first thing they're looking at is your pictures. And if your pictures don't say, oh, he looks like he can fight, pro wrestler, it factor, next guy. So join a gym, get jacked and tan. We always joke, but it's true. If you're in the WWE, you're jacked and tan. That's what it is. So you don't have to be the biggest and baddest, but have a little bit of base behind you.
I'm in Florida. I got no excuse to not be tan.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do the natural tan, you can do the rub-on tan, whatever. Just get jacked and tan, because it makes a big difference. I was astonished when I first started pro wrestling, how many of the guys didn't have gym memberships, didn't go work out. Like even still, don't regularly go to work out. It's astonishing to me, but it makes a huge difference just to literally go to the gym. You don't have to, again, be the leanest or the biggest. You just have to have a base of strength, a base of athleticism, something we can work with when we're training you. Because if you come in and you can't even do a couple of push-ups, then how am I going to trust you to pick up this guy and slam him? So get a base of strength behind you. It's very important. It's better to start now rather than start your pro wrestling training where you're getting sore from taking bumps all the time, and you have to go to the gym. You're getting sore from going to the gym. It's much better to get sore now, get through all the gym soreness, and then kind of let it even kill after a couple months, and then you start your pro wrestling training. Oh, soreness comes back, but in a different way, and you're a little bit tougher and stronger and easier to get through it. The best tip I ever got when we're starting pro wrestling: watch old wrestling. Watch old wrestling. And I still tell that to new guys, and they don't get it. They're like, what? Why would I watch wrestling from the 80s and the 70s or whatever? Really the 80s is kind of like the golden era, the time that you reach a look. Well, that's because when you first start pro wrestling training, that's the level you're at. That is the basic, simple 4 to 8 minute matches level you're at. You're not at the AEW level right now where you're doing all these crazy things. So while you're learning, you have to learn your ABCs before you can write your name, right? Well, watching old wrestling is just that. It teaches you the basics. You'll see them do the basic things that you are learning in class right now, and they do it really well. And that's why you watch old wrestling. Plus, what's old, you can make new again. I can't tell you how many times I've seen something from an old tape, and then I brought it in to oh, well, that worked this week. I should do it again. Like the Tennessee Open. I will tell you, I did the Tennessee Open one time at a outdoor rodeo, and that place went nuts. Tennessee Open is one of the oldest beginnings to a match in the world, and my God, does it work when you put it at the right place.
And I've learned. Sorry, I just let the cut off, but it's why I came up with the moniker of Young Lion with the Old Soul, because I've the older I've gotten, the more I've looked into older wrestling. Like I lean towards the black and white stuff. I lean towards the stuff that came out in 1963 or 1954, like your Hackenschmidts and your Killer Kowalskis and stuff like that, because I think a lot of people forget that wrestling is cyclical. It's like anything that you've seen has happened at least 3 decades ago. And it happened most likely in a time where it was more appreciated. And so I guess I like to think that I'm hitting the ground running with this, because I have a New Japan World subscription. So I love watching the old stuff with Tatsumi Fujinami and like Big Van Vader back in the 1970s and 80s. It's just it's so good to get a visual of that kind of stuff, because that is my goal, is that I want to learn how to do the fundamentals. And I'm like, I don't want to worry about doing a 450 splash. Would I like to learn it eventually? Yes. But I want to hit the best drop kick. That's it. Because I'm like, when you hit the best one, or in the case of Ricky Steamboat, my favorite, when you hit an arm drag as perfect as that man did, it didn't matter how many times you hit it. Everybody wanted to see it.
Yeah,
So
the fundamentals are what
think
get you
that I
hired. You don't get hired off of doing the crazy moves. You get hired off of doing your fundamentals well. They don't want to see you get up there and do a 450 or do some crazy move. They're hiring people from the NIL program, the college athletes, to do the crazy moves. They don't need you to do the crazy moves. We do the basic stuff and keep them grounded. We have to learn how to wrestle to guide them.
So now I just got to work on the whole gym membership thing, so I should be good.
Yeah.
Well, Gabe, I'm going to pass it back to you here, because I'm sure you've still got a few more questions you want to ask, and before we get to our next segment.
Well, I really just try to throw a couple here that are a little left field, because it's pro wrestling, but we also like to get to know the person, Mathias. So Ryan, more to speak, but we like to ask a couple. So I like to borrow this one from our one and only Night Owl. So obviously you go to the gym, you're pumping iron, you're hitting a really good set, you're hitting your box jumps, and of course you got your headphones in. What is a track that you listen to that people wouldn't expect that's on your playlist?
It's going to throw you off a little bit.
Nothing. Nothing? You just don't listen to anything?
Nothing. Zero. Nada. Not a damn thing. I listen to the weights clanging and banging, the blood dripping, the sweat pouring, and the baby's crying in the background. That's it.
You absolute psycho. That's amazing. I can't even imagine. I always have to listen to something, whether it's Radio Disney or Eminem. I got to hear something when I'm doing my workout.
Well, I guess I'll go back a little bit. So years ago, I did listen to stuff. And I have a very specific taste in music. It's not any specific genre or anything or just specific person. I like motivational music. So things that'll pump you up, like my theme song, Click, Click, Boom. Immediately, and I'll right off the initial beats. That's why I chose it as well. It's like immediately as soon as it hits, oh, shit's going down. So I love that song. Batista's I Walk Alone. Some Limp Bizkit in there, like Disturbed. Like I have different songs that like remind me of certain things, sometimes good things, sometimes bad things, that help me for specific lifts. If I'm doing deadlifts, I'm probably listening to oh damn, I can't even think of the song now. Down with the Sickness, because it says up and down a bunch, So like when I'm doing deadlifts, I used to be listening to that from my powerlifting days. But since I've kind of moved to San Diego and transitioned into pro wrestling and stuff and crushed so many iPods that were in my pocket, I kind of like got away from doing listening to music and just kind of have my internal thoughts, because there's a lot going on in this brain all the time with pro wrestling and stuff. And a lot of times, some people, they get their best thoughts in the shower. Well, a lot of times I get my best thoughts while I'm working out or something, and then I'll like hit a message real quick to tell somebody, oh, I thought about this for you, for your character. So I'm not just trying to make me great. I'm trying to make everyone great. Both SoCal Pro, my promotion that I'm working for, or the people I'm training. I'm always trying to help anyone I can to get to the next level. Everyone thinks that there's like this big competition between everyone in the indies, and it's really not. We're all on the same level. We're all trying to get next place. If I can make them money and you can make them money, they're going to hire us both. It's simple. You know?
Of course. And
Yeah.
the funny thing is I can definitely relate because for me, I can't tell you how many pro wrestling theme songs I listen to. First of all, I think we can all relate to getting a WWE soundtrack and like walking out through your hallway and pretending that you were the wrestler doing that because I used to do that all the time.
Never.
But I never. Wow, I look embarrassed. No, but for me, I was always about John Cena, and it's because I love, the phrasing of the song is "My time is now." Because in my mind, I'm
Yeah.
repeating that. I'm like, "My time is now. I'm 27. I got this. I'm the young lion. I got," hyping myself up.
Yeah.
But now I have to ask, as somebody who's been doing wrestling for a really long time, everybody always asks, the standard questions, who's your favorite people? Who do you get into this kind of thing? The things you expect. Now, I want to throw it in the opposite direction. What is the worst spot that you've ever taken? And what is the worst match you would consider you've ever had? Not your worst opponent. You could be best friends with this person, but what's the worst match that in your mind that you could say, yeah, I could probably put a label on that?
My worst match was my very first match, and it was completely my fault. I can't even go back and watch it, to be honest, because I was not ready. I thought I was ready. My coach thought I was ready, and then I got out there and I was not ready. So my very first match was for SoCal Pro, and it was in their warehouse, their training warehouse, where I'd done training for 6 whatever months, and it was against a Raxiel. It was not his fault at all. He was actually trying to help me during the match to correct myself, but I was just on, and not giving him time to breathe, giving him time to sell. I was just doing move, and that's it. It's like it was a terrible performance. I mean, watching it back is like so. Like I saw a match last night at training that I was like correcting these guys for the same stuff that I was doing. I'm like, there was no point to anything you just did. You did it. It was fine, but there's no point to it. I didn't care about it. No, at no point did you make the other guy look good or you look terrible. It was terrible. So my very first match, that was my worst match by far. You say worst spot that I did?
Worst bump, I guess, that you've ever taken.
Oh, worst bump. The Collie Bomb is pretty rough. I took that from Rich Bagu a couple of times. And I assume you guys know the Collie Bomb. He grabs you by the throat. Basically a choke slam, but he stays standing, just lifts you up and slams you down. That one sucks because the person doing it is usually kind of big. And they're standing in the middle of the ring, which is supposed to have a little give to it. But because they're standing in the middle of the ring, it does not have any give to it. So it's like a big-ass choke slam with no give. And you're just like dead. So and I got some hops. Like I said, I did I do my box jumps and my stuff. I'm pretty athletic, so I get some hops about me. And I jump pretty high for choke slams. I mean, we have Anthony Idol is like 6'2", 6'3", and as high as he can reach, I jump out of his hand every time I take a choke slam from him. So I can get up there, and I always got up there for Rich, and then I knew I would regret it, and I certainly did. So the Collie Bomb was probably the one I least like taking. I also broke the ring one time with a back suplex off the top rope. That was in Judiz's retirement match last June. He got me up on the top rope, and I was standing up there, and he gave me a back suplex. And as we hit, we hear the metal bar underneath just clang on the ground. So yeah, we broke the ring. It didn't like shatter and like collapse or anything. It's just that one of the beams inside had busted.
It wasn't Bam Bam Bigelow versus Taz. You didn't just go through underneath to the bottom floor. Yeah.
No, nothing like that. But that one was pretty tasty. I'll say that.
Well, I'm glad you're in one piece after that. That sounds like it would kill a man.
Well, yeah, I'm indestructible. Ass kicking machine.
Exactly. Well, can I just say, Mathias, it's been fantastic having you through this second hour. And I just want to say that I'm really glad we were able to pull things to happen this on a Wednesday because, I would have liked to pre-record an interview, but I think being able to talk to you in person is really cool. I think people get a feel for who you are as a person, who you are as a wrestler. And, on behalf of the Wrestle Talk podcast team, I can't thank you enough for taking the opportunity out of your day, man. I really love having you on here.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Just make sure you guys follow me at Mathias Wrestles. It's on my little handle right there. It's at Mathias Wrestles on everything. Instagram, Facebook, the TikToks, the Tweeters, the YouTubes, everything.
Now, before we wrap up here tonight, we always have an opportunity here for our guest. Haas, I want to ask if you're ready for this. You're muted, buddy. Gotcha.
Darn, things were going so well tonight too. I tell you, first
So,
mistake.
So, Matthias, we have what we like to collectively call the world famous Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. So, I'm feeling a little confident. I think the young lion in me is getting his blood boiling, and he wants to try and take a shot at the champ right now. And so, I wanted to challenge you to a best of 3 of a podcast game show challenge, where we have 3 questions that we like to ask and see who can come out of it. Would you do us the honors here tonight and accept Gabriel Arsen's challenge?
I accept, but I don't fully understand. You're going to ask 3 questions. It's just the first one to answer, or what?
So
Yeah,
I'll ask if you're the one to tell you.
I'll explain it here. So, and before we go into the explanation, real quick here, we do have a little bit of music just to lead up to it and just to get the mood set here. So
Is
let
it
me
from
go
Rocky?
ahead. Let me go ahead and play this game show challenge theme here.
I was expecting the Jeopardy theme.
It's copyrighted, unfortunately.
Welcome to this week's installment of the world famous Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. Tonight's contest is scheduled for 2 out of 3 falls. Our contestants are Wrestle Talk Podcast's very own Gabriel Arsen and Matthias. Tonight's Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge is my hometown. In a few moments, I will give you. This is normally written out better. In a few moments, I will give you clues of the hometown of a famous professional wrestler. Oh, I will give you the hometown of the famous professional wrestler. You will need to tell me whose hometown it is. For example, if I say San Antonio, Texas, you would say Shawn Michaels. When you think you know who that wrestler is, shout out your answer. So just shout it out. And the first person to answer correctly wins that fall. So just shout it out. If you shout out and you're wrong, or it's not the person I'm looking for, then continue shouting out until we get the answer right. And the first person to get 2 out of 3 right will win. Any questions?
Nope.
All right. Are you both ready?
Yep.
Let's rock.
Question number 1. Boulder, Colorado.
Bobby Lashley.
No.
I might
It
need
is
another
somebody
hint here,
from
sir.
WWE.
Okay.
Let's see.
Boulder, Colorado. Heavy machinery? I have no idea. I'm just gonna start naming names.
He also went by the ring name Leon Allen White. He was
Vader.
known for. Correct.
Woo!
Who was it?
Big
Vader.
Van Vader.
Oh.
I heard
What
Leon White.
era
I was
is
like,
this?
oh. Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, only person I know from Colorado was Lashley. That's why I'm like, well, I don't know who else.
All right. Let's see. Question number 2. Maxwell Street in Chicago, Illinois.
CM Punk.
Specific street. Okay.
Chicago.
MJF?
No.
Uh,
It would have been good.
right. He grew up on Maxwell Street. His name's Maxwell.
Yeah.
Oh God. Max Caster. I don't know.
He is signed to AEW.
Kevin
Sean
Knight.
Dean.
Kevin Knight's not right. Who did you say?
Sean Dean.
No.
Oh God. Darby Allin.
He's a wrestler and a coach.
Sting?
No. And he performs the same duties in his sister's promotion, Ring of Honor.
QT Marshall?
He's best known for his time in NWA. He's a former two-time NWA heavyweight champion.
Man. Last time I watched AEW, I was there.
Oh, jeez. I should know. I feel like I should know this, but I don't. He signed with AEW.
He previously worked in WWE as Scotty Goldman.
Raven?
No, not Raven.
Scotty Goldman. I should know this.
Man.
This is really.
All right. It was Colt Cabana.
Oh.
Wah, wah. Do we have like a wah wah sound that we can play? Where's the Sheik? We need that sound.
This one's actually a pretty hard game show challenge. It's not normmally.
Yeah, look up people's hometowns. It's kind of creepy.
I mean, I only know the ones of my favorite. It's like if it's West Newbury, Massachusetts, I know it's John Cena. That's it. Like anything past that, good luck.
Yeah.
Or South Carolina or whatever with Kenny Omega. Or is it North Carolina?
Here you go, Gabe.
Fucking bullshit!
There we go.
All right. So the third one here. West Newbury, Massachusetts.
John Cena.
John Cena is correct. I heard Mathias first.
All right. So it's all tied up.
You gave me that one.
I should have kept my mouth shut.
All right. So I do have alternate questions here. So we're going to have to go extra because we're tied up.
So it's a word overtime. Next fall wins it.
How about Sandy Fork, Delaware?
Triple H.
No.
It
is AEW. Used to be ROH.
Chris, or what is it? Oh God, what's his name? Leo Rush? I don't.
It was a tag team of brothers.
Oh, Matt or Nick Jackson?
One brother passed away in a car accident.
Oh my God. Jay Briscoe.
The Briscoes.
Woo!
Okay. Yeah, I had no idea.
Then we had to get that question for the last one. That's not awkward.
Okay.
The guy who passed away. That's the only defining thing that I needed to know. Jeez.
So,
Yep.
All right. Gabe has officially won the game show challenge.
Yes.
Yay.
Only way
actually-
I'm gonna win over Mathias.
It's the only one you're ever going to get.
We actually have
No, I can just see the spine buster forming in his head after he meets me in person. I can just see.
I'm coming to Florida, actually, not too far from now. I think July.
Let me know. I'm in Claremont, man. I'll hit you up. We'll do a meetup.
I got a show in Castleberry. Show up.
see, he's going to come looking for you, Gabe.
My poor
You're in
chest.
trouble. And if he doesn't hit you with a spine buster, then who knows what he'll hit you with.
Please save me. No, all transparency. Thank you so much for being on the show, man. I mean, I just genuinely, we are always looking for people to kind of spotlight in these things. And I know I blew up your inbox on Instagram, being like, "Hey, are you gonna make it? Are you gonna be here? Are you here?" It's just, I'm just glad that you were able to make it.
No
Because I
problem.
mean, we just love spotlighting talents, and I mean, I think it's safe to say that we have a future WWE champion here in the making, and we can say he was here first, and we were the ones who spotlighted it. I always love to hear, and you're already making waves in the wrestling world. I mean, you just said you were able to watch an AEW show. I know you're doing Impact tapings for TNA. So I mean, I definitely think we're going to be seeing you next on NXT or Evolve or just somewhere in WWE's midst in the next couple weeks. And I can just tell you right now, you've definitely made a fan out of me and everybody else in the audience here tonight. And I can't thank you enough. And from the bottom of the Podcast heart, thank you again, and welcome to the Wrestle Talk podcast family, man.
Thank you. It was an honor. I'm always happy to do these and tell my story and help as many people as I can, because that's what I enjoy doing: helping people, inspiring people, and hopefully I can inspire you guys to do some cool shit in your life, like go to the gym.
So before we let you go, just a couple last things here. Number one is, Gabe just mentioned a lot of places that you go and everything. So why don't you let the Wrestle Talk podcast know where can they find you? Where can they find you next? Where can they go see you?
The best place to see all the stuff I'm going to be doing is if you go to @Mathias Wrestles on any social media. I'm always posting about it. My Instagram is kind of like my main place. This weekend I have 2 shows. They're from noon to 6. They're actually going to be just not too far from my house in Old Town San Diego. Just some outdoor fair shows, trying to reach the community and tell them more about SoCal Pro Wrestling. I do a lot of shows in San Diego, but also in LA for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I travel quite a bit. I do stuff for IZW in Arizona, a lot in Las Vegas for Future Stars of Wrestling. Pretty much anywhere that books me, I'm there. You can catch me all over, but I always post about it on my social media and make sure you can keep up with me. And also in my link tree that's on all my social media, it has a match calendar and actually shows all the dates I'm going to be at, whether it be WWE, AEW, TNA, or any of the local shows I'm doing, as well as where you can get tickets to all that stuff. So go ahead and check out my link tree, and it has all the information you could ever need.
All right. And also, before we let you go here, the last one of the last questions I'll ask you is, you know, we we've talked a lot about your wrestling, we've talked a lot about your martial arts and stuff, but it seems like we are just scratching the surface with you, because there is just so much more, with your martial arts championships that we didn't talk about, and so much more we can talk about with the books you've written, um, and just your whole program and everything. So there is just so much more to go into. So just promise us that you will come back and talk to us again sometime.
Okay. I'm happy to do it anytime I have time to do it. I'm glad you guys were able to work out this Wednesday time for me, so I can still be training my folks on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But yeah, I'm happy to do it down the line, maybe after next month when I get back from TNA.
All
Looking
right.
forward to it. I want a copy of that book, though.
Yeah, you can buy it anytime on Amazon.
So, all right. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you again. Any last words before we let you go?
Just thank you for having me. Talk to y'all next time.
All right. The ass kicking machine, Mathias.
I'd say a Wednesday schedule for a guest like that was absolutely warranted. And if anybody disagrees with me, not only are you wrong, you're stupid. No, it's just that was awesome, Haas. Thank you so much, man. I'm glad we could rock that.
It was a great interview. Thank you, Gabe, for scheduling that. Would really appreciate it. And we appreciate Mathias's time. We appreciate all you guys, that have changed to the Wednesday night schedule for us for this week. Um, you know, Absolute great episode. So, shout out to Andrew out there checking in tonight. Thanks for the love there, Andrew. And just another great episode. It's been episode 549 in the books now. Next episode, little less than 2 weeks from now. we'll be back on that Tuesday night, episode 550, ladies and gentlemen. I can't believe it's been 50 episodes since 500. And, we are just ticking along. And I believe that we have our guests scheduled. And so hopefully it's okay to say we actually are going to have a pre-recorded interview for 550 with the great Kurt Gannon. We had him scheduled once before. We weren't able to make things happen. He couldn't make it that night, and so we rescheduled. And unfortunately, it has to be a pre-record, but we are going to have an interview with Kurt Gannon, another NWA wrestler, a great guy, and a previous member of the Wrestle Talk podcast family. So that is going to be a huge guest for episode 550, and I cannot wait to see what he's going to say.
I'm definitely looking forward to that interview. And I'm just amazed as you are, man, that we've been here for 550 episodes now. We're about 50 away from 600. So let's hope we can get through this 50 as well as we did the other 50. But
as quick as the last 50 episodes have gone, I'm not even going to look towards 600 because that'll come and go so quick. I'm looking for us to hit that 1000th episode.
You are certainly
That's the one
optimistic,
I'm
my
looking
friend.
for.
But I'd say with me and you at the helm, with an amazing guest like Mathias right backing us up, I think we will be able to hit that in stride going forward, John Haas.
So, thank you to each and every one of them. But before we get out of here, Gabe, we still have a little bit of business to take care of because we have got once again to hit those great and wonderful sponsors that we would not be here without them. So, you want to shout out our sponsors for us?
Always. The Wrestle Talk podcast would like to thank all of our fantastic sponsors. That's Retro Zone, Painter's Dream Productions, the Independent St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame, Doomed Outfitters. Be sure to hit up Will Bromload for all your commission needs. World Domination Wrestling Alliance. You be sure to check Elevation with our one and only Hardcore Hoss with Gavin Jackson. And of course, the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do us, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, I'm Hardcore Haas. That's the one and only young lion with the old soul, Gabriel Larson. Go ahead and take us home, Gabe.
So as always, from on behalf of the Night Owl, Renee Martinez, Luke Skywalker, Robert's sister, badass American diva Susie Haas, Ace, William Bromlow, Nightmare, and Nathaniel Jones, and from every Big Daddy Perry, everybody here on the Wrestle Talk podcast and the Wrestle Talk podcast family. This has been episode 550 of the Wrestle Talk podcast. Thank you and good night.